Hello and welcome back to the PRL Podcast. Unfortunately, this week you are going to have to put up with just my voice as Gary is not here to accompany me, but fortunately we will be having two guests on later on in the show, so stay tuned for that. But let's kick us off. Let's get into round 13, the United States of America's results. So a quick run through qualifying. On pole position we had VSR Louis, and in second, joining him on the front row, we had Falcon, 2 tenths off Louis. So Louis really was a bit ahead of the field, as it would be, really shown his class in qualifying. We then had Mitch Emery in third, followed by Michael in fourth. Michael will be happy with that. Not too happy, but he would have been happy that he was ahead of his title rival Decky. Then we had Neo in fifth, only 4 tenths off pole, so it's still close between that top few. We then had the 2 Mercedes in 6th and 7th, being Doom and Decky. That, I believe that is probably Decky's worst qualifying. It's a very easy track to corner cut on, so I imagine he invalidated a lap that maybe was better, but we'll have to ask him at one point. In 8th we had YHYY. That might be his best qualifying, so good job to him, and he wasn't even that far off the pole time either. He was within a second, which is great to see. Shows how close the field is. We then have X-Dress Revenge in 9th, and Gary Donegan in 10th, Jari, who didn't set a lap, in 11th, and Killer, who also did not set a lap, in 12th. So, bit of a shame, we only had 12 drivers, but what can you do? The World Cup's on, people are on holiday, and the game, in some people's opinions, is getting a bit boring. So, at least we've got some drivers showing up. But yeah, so talking points from qualifying. Looking down the order, the only real talking point I would say is Decky in 7th. Maybe showing a few signs of nerves kicking in. I know he doesn't get nervous very often, but it's uncharacteristic that he's that far down. I believe in all of season 15 his lowest qualifying was 5th, so in 20 races his lowest qualifying was 5th. But yeah, an uncharacteristic 7th place, which really does show that if you're not on your game in this division, you will be punished for that, and that is epitomised that right there. But yeah, I think that about sums us up from the qualifying. On to the race, where I have plenty to talk about. So, a superb drive by, I'm not sure if to call him Louis or Lewis. I'm just going to call him whichever one comes into my head. Sorry about that, Lewis. But taking the win, the young Brit, and I think he needed this, because he's been in the league for a while, I think this whole season actually, and he's been turning up inconsistently, social commitments, etc., which is unfortunate, and he hasn't really shown what he can do. And this is his first win. Not only is that a good thing to get out the way so you're not as nervous anymore, but I think it's a real stamp. He's really put his foot down and he said, hey everyone, look, I'm here, I can win the title, I can win races. And it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds next season. Obviously if he has the same attendance he does now, I don't think he has a chance in hell of winning the title, but we'll see. Anyway, a great race by him, and it was a good race also because he showed he could do it in the wet and he could do it in the dry, so a fantastic result for him. Now we've got a bit of a confusing thing in second and third. I'm going to say second Mitch Emery and third Decky. Very controversial moment occurred between these two drivers, albeit Decky had nothing to do with this and even didn't want it to happen. But Mitch Emery, he'd gone for a different strategy to everyone else. He went on ultra softs on the second stop and it paid off a treat. And obviously very arguably the best driver in the wet in this division, and he was pulling away from Decky. He was catching Lewis a little bit, but not enough to take the win. And suddenly on the last lap, Decky's gained about 10 seconds. And I thought maybe Mitch had wing damage, but then Mitch just kind of, at the hairpin in Sector 2, kind of just moved out the way and let the Mercedes driver through. And Decky, being the great sportsman he is, said, I don't want to win a championship like this. I don't want to take this. And he pulled over. I don't know where he did it because it wasn't on stream, but he pulled over and he let Mitch Emery back through. So at this point, it was fairly obvious Decky did not want the position. And then this is the bit which I think is the worst part of the act, is Mitch Emery then chose to take it into his own hands to give Decky the position without Decky having a say in it, by getting a penalty, by getting his third warning on the second to last corner of the race, effectively. And this promoted Decky to second, and to be honest, I'm very, very disappointed in Mitch. And I know a lot of the league is. I don't know a single driver that stands by what he's done, and I also believe he is also apologetic about what he's done, so don't go too hard on him. But yeah, it's not great to see. But yeah, then in 4th place we had Doom. Quiet race, wasn't really battling anyone. Too fast for Jeff, too slow for Mitch and Decky. So quiet race, but bringing home 12 points for Mercedes. I haven't checked, I haven't done the maths, but I believe the title constructors fight is over. Yep, I can tell you from looking at it. Oh, actually, no, it is still mathematically possible. So I take that back, they are still in the hunt. And so yeah, Doom in 4th. We then had Jeff in 5th, and not only is that just a good result on paper, but that is a fantastic result for him because he defended his position what must have been about more than 50% of the race. And he didn't just defend the position against one driver, but he defended against the guy who's leading the Drivers' Championship, and that is Michael. Absolutely fantastic drive by Jeff. He really showed, I might not be the fastest in the league, but if you're stuck behind me, you might be stuck behind me. So, and also he did it very cleanly. There were good squeezes. He never pushed anyone off track. It was very clean and a very good drive by him. And I'm not going to say driver of the day for me. Actually, but yeah. Nah, I'm not going to give it to him, but if there was a second runner-up driver of the day, he would get it. Lewis would get my driver of the day for such a commanding win. Then we had Michael in 6th. Not a good result for him. Fell 2 places from start to finish. And yeah, it's not what he needs with these last few races. Fortunately for him, Decky only gained 7 points, which is the same as if he had won and Michael had come second. So it was kind of lucky in a way. Decky didn't really capitalise on the fact Michael was down in 6th. I think Michael just thought, I don't want to DNF, I don't want to throw away all the points, because he was very, very tentative when trying to pass Jeff. He never really committed to a move. He never said, look, I'm here, I'm having this position. I mean, if you go on stream, I think Falcon passed Michael with 1 attempt, or Decky, one of them, whereas Michael had, I don't know, 50% of the race to do it on Jeff. And I mean, each their own. I think Michael was evidently a bit faster than Jeff, but I think he was being a bit careful. I think he thought he would get him at the end of the race, and he underestimated Jeff's ability at defending, which I've done as well, and it's not a good thing to do. In 7th we had Jari, so he had a good race, came from towards the back. I believe his pace was quite good in the dry, but in the rain it wasn't as good. So it's good to see him back towards the front, because he was very fast at one point on this game, whereas now he doesn't really try. And a bit like me, if I don't try, I'm going to be at the back of the grid, and I'd say it's the same for Jari. But it's good to see that he's got his pace back when he wants to get it back. So yeah, that's really nice to see. We then had White YY in 8th. Brilliant finish for him, bringing home 4 points for the Renault team, who I believe are still rock bottom of the championship. They're not that far off Red Bull. They're only 10 points adrift of Red Bull. That's interesting, you know. They might actually be able to claw that back. That'll be a interesting dogfight come the end of the season. We then had Gary in 9th. I don't know what happened to Gary. I believe he lost his wing at one point. Not a good race for him. He could definitely have got some nice points this race for himself, but he didn't manage it. Neo in 10th. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure he disconnected. But I think he also got wing damage on lap 1, so I haven't asked him what happened, but that's obviously not ideal. We then had Falcon in P11, a terrible race from him. I kind of forgot what went wrong for him, but obviously not an ideal race for him. And then we had Killer Blue down in 12th place. So yeah, I think that rounds off our race review. Couple of talking points. The main talking point is that the Mitch and Decky switch. Personally, even if Mitch was Decky's teammate, I mean, it's a tough one. Like, I think I wouldn't disapprove of it if it was Doom letting Decky through, but it's not in the way that it's done. If the driver's 10 seconds clear and Decky hasn't even really come close to getting that position, I think it's a bit of a cop-out when they switch positions. But if, let's say, Decky trailed Doom the entire race and they kind of had a battle, or Decky just followed him and obviously had the pace to overtake but just couldn't do it for whatever reason, and then they switched, that I wouldn't think was too bad. But if it's like the teammate or any driver waiting a serious amount of time, then I think it can get a bit controversial. But I think Mitch will be getting a race ban or quali ban. It has not been decided what he is getting yet. But hopefully it will be decided by Saturday, actually. Just waiting on a steward to get back to me about the final decision. So yeah, I think that rounds out our review of round 13, a kind of little synopsis of what happened. So on to Mexico. Well, I think it's a horrible track. So I mean, I kind of wanted to miss it, but I'm not missing it. I mean, I want to race, but I'd have loved to have done USA or Spa or Hungary. But the tracks that I have to do on Mexico, I put this down in like, I must have put it on like 18th on my list, and somehow it's wormed its way into the top 15 tracks. Shame on you, whoever voted for it, because it's a disgusting track. It's got no character, no elevation. It's just, you're lying to yourself if you say it's fun to drive. I don't care who you are, you're lying to yourself if you say that. But yeah, enough of me ranting about the track. Predictions. I have a feeling Michael's pretty good round here. Well, he's good everywhere, but I have a feeling he might be particularly good round here. Harry is very fast round here, but probably get disqualified through corner cutting, so don't have to factor him in. Neo's fast, probably going to disconnect, so don't have to factor him in. Makes the choice quite simple. I would say it's Michael or Decky for first and second. I'm gonna say Decky because that would keep the title fight alive, really. Michael in second. I'm pretty sure Falcon's fast round here, so I'll put Falcon in third. I'd love to see myself up on the podium. It'd be an honour for Decky and Michael to join the likes of me on the podium. it doesn't happen often. So if you join me on the podium, it's something to really cherish and remember. But it's not going to happen. I can tell you from a few practice sessions, pace is looking suboptimal. I would say. But I think that rounds us up for round 14 preview. So now this is where it's going to get interesting. I will be interviewing 2 drivers, and you'll find out who they are very shortly. So stay tuned, and we will go on to that now. So, on to the first interview of this week's podcast edition. The first driver joining me is none other than the back marker of season 15, Decky 106. What is good?
Hello. Hello.
Right, so, got a couple of questions to run through. Got them written down right in front of me. Let's start with the main question, okay? The title fight. It's hot up between you and Michael, and we're going to assume that you got 3rd place at round 13, so not 2nd. So the gap is 15 points.
15.
What are your thoughts on the title fight? What are your thoughts on Michael, given the last 2 races?
Wait, what was the race before?
You've got Mexico and you've got Brazil. The race before USA was Singapore.
Alright, I think so. Let's go back to Singapore. I think Mike had a really big gap to Mitch because he struggled with strategy. And this time again, he bottled the strategy around USA. So, I don't know, think he might get a little nervous, but that's probably normal. And, I don't know, 15 points are quite a lot, but...
Agreed.
Still doable.
It is doable, but the mathematics behind it is that if you win both races, he has to come 3rd in one of them. Can you see that? Oh, you can see that happening. Which one, yes. Mexico or Brazil?
Doesn't matter.
Well, it doesn't matter, but I was just interested to see if
probably happen in both.
Okay.
If I can finish first.
Okay, I guess that's topical. Do you think you can win in Mexico?
I mean, we saw my practice pace.
Yeah, it was looking feisty.
Not really. I mean, if I'm not spinning it out, maybe.
I don't know, Harry looked very fast in practice, and Neo did.
Yeah, he will spin it.
But Neo will disconnect. Harry will get disqualified because of corner cutting. So you're already past those 2, and the only other people I can see beating you are Mitch, Falcon, and Michael. Mitch is probably going to have a race ban, so he won't be there. Joom actually looked quite fast, but Joom I would have thought would give you the position if he was near you. Lewis isn't racing. I mean, I guess I could pose a threat. You know what my strategies are like. I'm always there, always waiting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're not guaranteed a top 3. That'd be stupid. But I'd say it's between 3 of you for a win. So I'd say the odds are looking good for Michael. I'd say he could definitely get on the podium.
Fair.
So yeah, I guess that cleans up our little title fight discussion. The next question is, are there any drivers that you think need to take a look in the mirror before season 17? So by that I mean, you think there's any drivers that need to clean up their act or have a look at what they're doing before season 17?
Haribo.
Reasoning?
I mean, he clearly has the pace, but like struggles with penalties, strategy. Odds, not gonna lie, he had some bad luck, I think, with disconnect and bad connection. But
yeah,
I mean, just looking at his raw pace, he's incredible.
I've got the table.
Look at his results.
I've got the table in front of me. He's had DNF 8 points, DNF 2 points, DNF 10 points, 10 points, DNF 0, 0, 0. He is down in 18th in the championship, and arguably over 1 lap he's the fastest in the division.
I don't know.
Well, you definitely put him up there.
Tracks,
you definitely put him up there.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, I could definitely agree with that. He's doing something wrong. Any other drivers you think need to rethink what they're doing? Not driving very cleanly, or?
No, but I know Jeff wants to up his game. So.
Oh, I guess this can tie me on to my next question. I've got written down in front of me, I've got a big question mark next to teammate. How are you and June getting on? And will you be teaming together in season 17?
I wouldn't say whom and me getting on bad, but like we not really speaking often.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I know Jeff and like I know a lot of other drivers, so I don't know. I didn't speak to him if we want a team next season, but I don't know if he wants to. So.
Well, it's fair to say your teamship with June went better than it did with Cantera, so you
true.
could look at the positives on that one.
I mean, some of you might remember the good old Scuba.
Oh god, I don't think anyone apart from me, you and Jeff.
Oh, Cliffy.
Oh yeah, Cliffy. Well, to fill
Maxi.
everyone in another league, TMC. Don't go race with it. It's not a very good league. And Decky had a teammate, Scuba, something, a couple of numbers after the name, and Decky's teammate would actively go off the track to not give Decky slipstream, and it was hilarious at the time. But that's probably the worst teammate you've had, to be fair. I don't really see how it could get any worse than that.
Yeah.
I mean, you have teamed with Ibo, and you won the race you teamed with Ibo as well. So maybe, if Ibo takes a trip back up to D1, you've got a future teammate right there.
I mean, it worked pretty well.
He gave you me slipstream for Hockenheim.
Let's name it slipstream.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Which brings me on to ask you, would you ever consider teaming with Michael?
Not really, but like I wouldn't have considered teaming with Cantera last time. So
if Michael asked you tomorrow night, candlelit dinner, he says, Decky, will you be my teammate for season 17? You've got to say yes or no. No, okay, that clears the air. Whew. It's getting a bit heated in here.
I mean, no, wait. He is a nice guy, I think. Like, I don't have anything against him, but I don't know.
He's too much of a rival.
Did it ever really work when like two people who were fighting for the title teamed up? Not really.
It's probably why me and my teammates have never worked out. We always challenge each other on track, so.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem.
So yeah, I guess that kind of clears up a couple of questions I had to ask. Now we're moving on to a game, which, well, I call it a game. It's not really a game. I don't really know what to call this section, so I'm not going to call it anything. But basically, I'm going to read some Formula 1, real-life Formula 1 drivers' names out. And when you hear the name, you have to say the driver in PRL who's most like that person, for whatever reason you want to justify that with. So it could be as simple as he's from the same country. That'd be a bit boring, but you could say that if you couldn't think of anything. I'm not asking you the whole F1 grid, so it's a select few.
My first question would probably be Vettel Hamilton.
It's funny you say that, because the first two names I've got written down are Vettel and Hamilton. You know what, I'm not going to ask them first. I'm going to surprise you with them. I'm not going to pluck them up first. Right.
Let's start with Bottas.
Right, okay. So to start with, are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Magnussen.
Flair.
Flair's not in PRL.
Oh, not?
No.
Oh.
Take two. Try again.
I mean, nobody's really like this idiot.
Well, you've called him an idiot. Who would you say in PRL is most like an idiot?
Ooh. Maxi, just for the banter, you know.
Okay, so Maxi Luca is Kevin Magnussen. I'm sure he'll be happy with that one. Charles Leclerc.
Ooh. Michael. Young,
Why?
talented.
Woo! Complimenting your championship rival. It's a dangerous thing to do. Fair
Should
play.
I say Mitch?
No, don't say that name. Roman Grosjean.
Oh, I don't really like him as well. It's probably the same as Kevin Magnussen. Why is Flair not in PRL anymore?
You can't say him for every driver you don't like.
Yeah,
Come on,
like,
Grosjean complains a lot. You could definitely. Which driver in PRL complains a lot? Grosjean, maybe not had his chance at a top team. There's plenty of ways you could compare.
Grosjean finished 4th. Let's give him that. That's one good result. So, Gary, outstanding result, you know?
Alright, fair enough. I like the ingenuity you've used to think of that. Right, the big name. Okay, you've been waiting for this one the whole time. Ericsson. Who would you compare with Marcus Ericsson?
What? I thought you're not going through the whole grid.
No, I'm not. I haven't asked you that many.
Is Agony still in the league?
Yeah, technically speaking.
Yes.
Why would you put Agony with Marcus
Because
Ericsson?
nobody really cares about Ericsson.
Jeez, you're holding back on this one, Christ. Right, okay, fair enough.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Agony, but I've never talked to you, man. Like,
Well, I
sorry.
believe you have talked to him after the Canadian GP, and that didn't go very well.
Oh, yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah,
On-
he's
on to-
definitely Ericsson.
Okay. Who would you compare with Lewis Hamilton?
I mean, Flair's still not in PRL, but did you see his earring?
Why do you not like? Oh, because of his earring. Oh my God, we're really going
Oh,
to
I
the.
swear, people were saying he looks exactly the same as Hamilton, but
Flair does
forget
look a
about
bit
that.
like Hamilton, but Flair is, for the third time, Flair is not in PRL.
So, yeah. This season, Mitch.
Why?
Because I think, like, Mitch has his up and downs, just like Hamilton. And this season, Hamilton has more downs than ups. Same as Mitch.
Okay, that is a good. It's taken you 5 names to do a good justification, but we've got there in the end.
This is not as easy as you think. Not going on.
Well, people will find out when they come on PRL Podcast. Go check us out. Right, Kimi Räikkönen.
Oh, I think I have to name a Finnish driver now.
Well, you've got 2 to choose from.
Yeah, Rick. His results are better.
Oh no, you've got 3 to choose from actually. Fair enough.
Rick. Yeah.
And Kalek.
Oh. Oh, wait. Kalek is driving for Ferrari, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Is that the comparison you're going to go off? Finish and
Yes.
Ferrari. Okay. We're getting simpler and simpler. I think I know your answer to the next one. Who is most... I haven't asked the question.
Oh, now someone. Well, okay. Yeah.
Who is most like Lance Stroll?
Oh, bruh.
I mean, if you want to say yourself, feel free to.
Yeah, probably me. Like, wait, what is Lance Stroll doing? He's pretty much doing nothing this season.
Don't you dare say my name.
I mean, it's kind of tempting to say Samuel, but would be kind of harsh, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, no one wants to be Lance Stroll.
Yeah, nobody's really like Lance Stroll.
It'd be worse to be
you're driving in the
Sorokin, to be
Williams,
fair.
Sam.
Oh no, don't make this comparison, please. Oh God.
I'm sorry, but I think I have to.
To be fair, I do
The
actually,
results are
I do
probably-
actually pick his car as well, so it makes a bit of sense.
So, wait, Lance Stroll starts already good.
Oh well,
I mean,
I am good off
your
the line.
starts were kind of good at one point. I don't know
They
when,
still are.
but yeah,
Cheeky
maybe
son
they
of a
still are.
gun.
But your finishing results aren't really the best. So yeah,
Can't argue with that.
perfect Lance
It's
Stroll.
good logic. Right, finally, who is most like Sebastian Vettel?
Is it a dick move when I say me?
Yeah, you kind of have to say Neo for this one, I'm afraid. No, you can say
No.
yourself if you want.
Me.
Why would you
I mean,
compare yourself to
German
Vettel?
driver who is a legend and a half. Like, just look at his character. What a guy.
What a guy. Okay, well, it's nice
What
you've
a
said. It's nice you've said some nice stuff about yourself.
Yeah, really, isn't it?
Yeah, really good.
No, Seb improved his character a lot in this season, I think.
Yeah, he was
So-
very whiny, whereas now he's actually a very.
Oh,
I mean, I always
don't
liked
be
him
that
because he was funny, but this season he hasn't complained about anything, and he's had some bad luck go his way as well. But anyway, that rounds out your interview, really. Thank you for coming on. Is there anything you would like to say to the people listening?
No.
Oh,
Good
I
luck, mate.
could-
Michael, for the championship.
could have guessed that. Well, thanks, Decky, for coming on. Wish you all the best in Mexico, and hope the title fight is still on after Mexico. So yeah, cheers for coming on, Decky.
Oh, it will be.
Right, so on to our second driver. Joining me on the podcast this week, it is the driver who is challenging for the title. It is none other than Michelangelo, or VGIA Michael, as some of you might know him. Michael, how are you today?
Hello, I'm fine.
Good to hear, good to hear. Right, so, got a couple of things to discuss. Nothing that will cause too much drama. So, first of all, we'll start with the big thing, the title fight. Obviously, it's you versus Decky. German versus the Greek. Don't know if they've ever played in anything before. What are your feelings on the title fight? You've got Mexico and Brazil as the remaining races. You have a 15-point lead. What are your thoughts going into it, and your thoughts towards Decky?
Yeah, first of all, I thought I had a 12-point lead.
No,
Last
we
time.
have switched Decky and Mitch back, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I think either way, it's super interesting. I think the way it's all planned out, it's so interesting and entertaining for the championship.
Agree
I
with
wouldn't
that.
want it to go any other way. And I think the two best ones have got to the end. And I think the best one
I'd
will
agree
win
with that.
because there's not been too much controversy. I think it's all been very plain sailing. I think we've all lost about 1 or 2 races throughout the season. So I think it's pretty
Yeah,
fair
I
throughout the
definitely
season.
agree with that. You and Decky have not quite been Decky and Kara as in domination that way, but you and Decky have definitely been the two forces of this season, and obviously you have the lead going into the last few races. You got any strategy, any nerves? You think you can do well at Mexico, or
Obviously, I've been keeping track of what Deggy can do there. I've
okay?
seen some good laps from a few months ago. So I don't know, it's very different in an actual race. You never know how many laps. Someone might have put it in time trial or qualifying practice
That
sessions.
is true.
It's only 2 sessions will matter in the actual race, and
That is
we saw
very
last
true.
week, for example, Jackie qualifying 7th, although with pure pace I think could have been P1 quite easily. So it's very interesting. I think we're gonna have to see, and hopefully, and the only thing I'm hoping for is a fair and entertaining battle.
Yeah, that is a good point actually. There's one thing that you and Decky have always had, even in last season as well as this season. I'm not sure if you and Decky get on as people, but on track, you two have a lot of respect for each other. It's always fair, and that's good to see. It wouldn't be very nice if you two were brake checking each other, etc. So that is good to see. Would you say Mexico and Brazil are one of your or two of your better tracks, or not?
I mean, it's not too bad, but I would prefer Abu Dhabi because I put in a lot of practice for last season's GP and I did quite well around there. But I think with a bit of practice, I think anything's possible. And it's not too bad, too much of a bad track, with a assist difference. It's only ABS, I think Deki uses. Yeah, I would like to point that
Yeah,
out.
and he uses
But
line. Just thought I'd point that out as well.
yeah, in my opinion, it doesn't
A
make
bit
much of a
less
difference,
skill.
that one. Yeah, I think it's just visual, just getting used to the breaking points of that. But I think it's going to be exciting. It's two tracks, a lot of overtaking could go around there, and I think it could be nice, especially with a big turnout, which we haven't had for the last couple of races, because we saw Louis
Yeah,
obviously winning last week, which spiced things up a bit.
yeah, very good race by him. But anyway, that sums up a little bit of a preview for Mexico and a bit of the title fight. On to some other questions. First of all, would you say there's any driver or drivers that need to take a look in the mirror before season 17, assuming the same grids sign up again, whether they make it in Division 1 or Division 2? And any drivers you think need to have a little think before going in? Maybe they need to clean their act up, maybe they need to try and focus on the race a bit more, anything like that.
Hmm, I don't know. To be honest, can't think of that much. Uh,
No, it's fair enough. You
I
don't have to
said
say someone.
previously, I don't like to call out names or anything like that, especially when it's something negative about a driver. But
No, that's
I
very
think many
respectful. That's
people
fair
have
enough.
been very inconsistent, especially Louis. I think he's been in
Yeah.
many leagues, and I know he's very successful in other ones. And I don't think he stands for a name for himself at the moment. A rapid reserve, he's not quite that at the moment, but more like inconsistent reserve. But I think for next season, if he gets a full-time seat, I
Well, he
think
does actually have a full-time seat, to be fair.
okay, now he does. It's a bit late to be fair
Yeah. Well,
now,
he
but
had one for the start of the season, but he didn't turn up to enough races, so he took it away from him, and then he became a reserve, and then he got the seat back because Maxi has gone to reserve now.
yeah, exactly. So I don't think it ever meant too much for him this league, but from next season, I think it's gonna be a big priority because it's such a good grid. And there's a lot of competition. I know
Right.
that
I think
exactly
it's
what
going to
Louis
get
wants.
better as well. Got a couple
Mhm.
of names lined up. See if they'll join the league. It's going to be intense next season, but that is a good point. Do you think Lewis is in so many leagues, and this to any driver who's in a lot of leagues, do you think that they're in so many leagues that it's affecting their commitment? They maybe don't care as much about some of the leagues. Whereas you've got a lot, to be fair, there's a lot of drivers in PRL that are strictly in PRL, which is unusual for a league, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a disadvantage only being one league because it means you don't
Yeah,
have that
less
much time.
practice. Yeah.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think matters more which league starts first. Obviously, drivers have their own priorities. I personally like to give my potential to more competitive leagues instead of slower leagues,
Yeah, that's
and
fair enough.
so I've put my priorities, for example, for that. So I think Louis is something similar. I know he's in a lot of competitive leagues. I don't know if he thinks PRL is not one of them, but we'll see from next season. As I said, if you don't start the season well, you kind of,
Yeah,
you'll
lose
not try that much.
interest.
You just try to
Yeah.
have some fun for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that is very true. Well, anyway, that is that bit over. I've got here, like the other person, I've got a bit of a question mark next to your teammate. I'm pretty sure you're not teaming with him again. Is there anyone you thought about teaming with, or have you got a teammate for next season?
Yeah, I've talked with Harry Haribo. I've talked to him a lot of months ago, but it's only half been confirmed a couple of weeks ago. We've really been talking about it, and I think we got a very nice relationship between us. I know him
Okay.
quite well from previous PRL seasons as well, and some other leagues. So yeah, I think I'll be teaming up with Harry, and we'll see what
Well,
we
that
can
could
do
be
together.
a fierce teamship. Definitely two fast drivers. Could be another constructors to your name if all goes to plan.
Hopefully.
Out of interest, if Decky asked you tomorrow, he said, Michael, will you team with me for season 17? What would you say to him?
I think as long as we have a very nice relationship between us, we don't hate each other, we have some respect for each other. I don't think our driving styles match. I don't think our motivation, I would say, matches up between us. I don't think we'd have a lot of good chemistry. So when Harry already asked me a lot of months ago, so I wouldn't like to turn that down. I'm not that kind of guy. I just stick with what I have and what I've promised. So
That was very
no,
good.
I wouldn't team up with Decky. And I wouldn't like to sound very cocky, but I think it would have been a bit of a 1-2 in the championship and then teaming up in the constructors. I don't think it would be too fair. That's what I'm saying.
That is understandable. I'm not gonna lie. You and Falcon have kind of ran away with this one. Uh, it's still not wrapped up mathematically. Not sure if you know.
No,
Mercedes
definitely.
can still win it, but it's unlikely. Um, right, so that is that section over. A quick little detour to something that has cropped up recently. There is a race for, I believe, Vortex Racing esports team in the name of them, and the winner gets €50 PSN card. Are you interested in joining? Because you will get an invite as you are one of the top 20 in Division 1. What are your thoughts on the whole thing? And yeah, basically that.
I don't think I'm very excited. I don't think I've ever been in a similar event. I think I've signed up for one, but it never happened, which is great. So, yeah, but not very big prize, but obviously it's understandable. It's only a racing league. I think it's a good chance for everyone to practice a bit on this old game and show how much it means to them. Well, yeah, I think I'll put in a bit of practice for that. Obviously, my card actually runs out on September, so it would have been ideal to win this and actually get the code in a couple of months. But yeah, we'll see. I think it's going to be a bit of fun.
I think it's good for the league. I don't know if the €50 have been donated, put forward by PRL or by the esports team. I'll have to check on that because it's very generous whoever's done that. Hopefully, the racing doesn't get too aggressive because €50 PSN card is quite a lot if you win just one league race. It's a lot of Fortnite skins if you're interested into that stuff. um, so yeah, anyway, that is that. You can talk about it in the comments down below about who you think might win that. But on to the quick fire. It's not questions, but basically, I'm going to read out some real life Formula 1 drivers' names, and you have to tell me which PRL driver is most like them and why. And it could be a simple thing such as they're from the same country, but it'd be better if there was a bit more of a connection as to why you've said that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Who would you most compare to Charles Leclerc?
Ooh, has to be a rookie, hasn't it? It's interesting. I have to get a picture of the drivers on my screen.
Give you a
I
bit of
would
time for
say Louis.
that. Okay.
Personally.
What, just because good rookie?
Because
Or
I think he's a rookie, yeah, and he's so rapid. I don't think anyone expected him to be up there like P1,
that is
like
very true.
actual top level.
Well, fair enough. Who would you most compare to Carlos Sainz?
Sainz, I think June because he's quite down to earth and he's quite optimistic about races. I think he's got a good what's it called, good relationship with Decky with his teammate.
Ah, okay, that's nice to hear. Who would you? I think I guess you answered this. Who would you most compare to Sebastian Vettel?
I'd like to think myself, but
Oh, okay, okay. No, that's all right. I'm kind
I
of
can
glad you
see that.
said that. Why would you say yourself?
I think we both a bit crybabies when things don't go away.
That is fair enough. That is understandable.
Um, both got same ambitions, titles with I don't know, historic teams maybe. Toros is not really a historic team, but oh well. Both like Ferrari, I guess.
That's
I guess
fair
we could
enough.
see that.
I like that
Uh,
connection.
Not really from the same country, really opposite countries. But
Yeah, I
same
was gonna
driving
say.
style as well, very good on highway. I think we both are on that.
Yeah, you are very good with your
One
tires. To
lap
be fair.
pace, very bad for both of us. In qualifying. Yeah.
Well, on to the next driver. Who would you most compare to Kimi Raikkonen?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. I would say pretty calm guy is Rick, I would say.
Okay. Are you also making that link through the finish and finish? Or
Yeah. He's finished with gold.
adds
Yeah.
to it, doesn't it?
He doesn't
No, I
really
like
talk
that.
that much on a group chat. That's why I thought he was a bit more calm, but then seeing his race highlights or videos,
Yeah, he
I don't
can
know,
get a bit angry, can't he? I
bit of a hot hit sometimes, but I think that's all of us.
think everyone who's got a bit of passion. Right, on to the next one. I believe you've got 3 drivers left. Who would you most compare to Roman Grosjean?
Oh. Mm, I don't think there's really any link. Grosjean.
Grosjean complains a lot. That's a potential link. He's had a
Crashes a
couple of
lot.
podiums. Never won a
I
race
don't
though.
know. It could be you. I'm thinking of someone really average.
Oh wow, Michael. So when you think of really average, my name comes through your head.
No, actually, I think Calic Race because I don't know if yeah, sorry, Calic may be watching this. Um, because I think crashes quite a lot, it bottles a bit, but he has some podiums here and there. I think Grosjean's had like 3 podiums in his career.
Yeah,
I think that's
Grosjean
about
does
the
crash
same
a lot.
amount as
I'll give you
Calic.
that.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I'm glad you didn't say me after saying distinctly average. Right. You can say my name for this one if you want. Who would you most compare with Lewis Hamilton?
I saw that one coming. I'd say this one is probably Decky because he's so freaking consistent on track, and when he gets to the lead, of the race, he just pulls away, doesn't look back, and cruises on to the finish line. He's obviously the reigning champion. Um,
Fair
Very
enough. That's a
similar
good
countries, I
comparison.
guess, but I think it's down to the reigning champion and to the driving style and mentality as well. I think he's quite down to earth as well. And he's got a quite good reputation in his championship, which
Yeah,
Lewis
that
has.
is true. It's true. So, on to your final driver. Who would you most compare with Kevin Magnussen?
Uh, it could be Gary or Jarry, I think,
Why?
because they're both in the midfield and they're fighting really hard for their positions. And I think they got a good passion about getting some decent points,
Okay. Okay.
top fives and stuff like that. I know Magnussen has said he would kill to get points or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no, I have seen
So
that quote somewhere.
I think I would link them to these two if anyone.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, that rounds us out for your interview. Thank you very much for joining us. Is there anything you would like to say to the people listening? Any words?
Probably for a good battle for everyone who watches the PRL streams to races left. Don't forget to tune in. No.
I think the only people who
About a
watch
day or-
are the people who've DNF'd in the race already.
Oh, maybe we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see. It's a good battle. I think people will tune in, and
hopefully.
yeah.
Well, I wish you all the
And support
best
me, not
in
Dickie.
the. I wish you all the best in the title fight. If you win it, you definitely deserve it. You've driven fantastically this season, and you're a very nice guy. So thank you for coming on, and yeah, good luck next week. Well, this week at Mexico.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you. So that is it for round 13's podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed it, and a little disclaimer: I apologise for the big buzzing you can hear in the little review at the start before the interviews. I was actually charging my controller, and I was oblivious to the fact that I was doing so, and it makes a horrible sound. So, I mean, you might not be able to notice it. If that's the case, I've put some music over it or something, so it might be a little weird, but I apologise for that. And yeah, everyone tune in for the title fight. It's going to be good. It's going to be great, and I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, comment down below who you think's going to win the title fight, or anything. Comment any improvements or anything like that. Your feedback is always appreciated. I've been Smithy. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Goodbye.